Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, where we've got two battles for you today, because honestly they're both a bit on the short side, although one is significantly shorter than the other. We're going to kick off proceedings with Sir Justin 84 here in an all tier 10, well, technically there are 3 tier 11 super ships on each side as well, but it's an all tier 10 battle here on the Faroe Islands map. Normally in one of these battle replays, I usually at the start of the battle take the time to browse the enemy team list and analyse the kind of threats that our hero is going to face. For example, there is of course an aircraft carrier in play, tier 10 obviously. There are 2 tier 11 super destroyers on the enemy team, and the other destroyers on the enemy team are seriously nasty gunships like the Forrest Sherman and the Kitakazi for example. He's also going to be outspotted if he has the misfortune to run into the enemy submarine. And there are at least 3, potentially, depending on whether or not the enemy Minotaur is radar or smoke, but there are at least 3 and potentially 4 radars. Oh, and of course, as well as the 1 aircraft carrier, which is bad enough when you're in a destroyer, the enemy team also have a Kearsarge, which is a hybrid aircraft carrier. It's a battleship masquerading as an aircraft carrier and can launch aircraft of its own. The enemy team also have an Annapolis, which is kind of like a Des Moines on steroids. Honestly, it's really difficult to see how this matchmaking could be much worse for the captain of a destroyer. I mean, it can always be worse. He could have been tier 9 rather than tier 10, and the Daring is a very, very good ship. There could have been 2 actual carriers on the enemy team instead of a Midway and a sort of half-carrier Kearsarge, and I suppose there could have been 2 submarines on the enemy team instead of 1. But this is almost about as bad as it gets. And yet, none of that is going to be important. Why is that then, Jingles? Well, it's to do with the points. So, quick explanation while things are getting started. I realise most of you will probably already know this, but for the benefit of those who don't, both teams in Domination Battle start with 300 points. You can see that there are 3 cap circles. And you earn points in Domination Battles by taking those caps, which provide a steady influx of points for your team, and sinking enemy ships. The only way to actually lose points in Domination Battle is to have ships on your team sunk, and different types of ship are worth different amounts of points. The amounts of points are different in each battle mode, but just as a for example, if the enemy team were to sink Sir Justin here, his team would lose 45 points for losing a destroyer, and the enemy team would gain 30 points for killing a destroyer. And it's different for cruisers, battleships, carriers and submarines. Sink every ship on the enemy team, you win, obviously. Reach 1,000 points before the enemy team, you win, also, obviously. Oh, and the enemy team have just lost one of their destroyers. You can see they're down to 255 points. They've just lost 45 points. Justin's team are up to 330 points for sinking an enemy ship, or a destroyer in this case. But there is a third way that you can win. Although technically it's not so much you winning as the enemy team losing, because if the enemy team gets reduced to 0 points, you also win. And by the way, this battle is already 2/3 over. Justin has just confirmed that the Minotaur on the enemy team is not a radar Minotaur, based on the smoke screen that you can see over there. Also, you can see over there in the distance, the last 2 sweaty try-hard super ships on the enemy team are, well, one of them's no longer in serious trouble because he's just been sunk, but the Annapolis in the distance looks like he's about to die too. The enemy team are now down to 210 points. They've just lost the Annapolis. They're down to 160 points. Oh, you noticed that, did you, Mr. In-Game Announcer? Yeah, the Kearsarge is in a lot of trouble. Oh, the enemy team have just lost. Let me just get closer to the screen so I can see what it is. Yep, they've lost their Seattle. They're down to 60 points. So Justin's team haven't lost a single ship. The Kearsarge takes a lot of damage from high explosive thanks to that massive flight deck superstructure. It's practically impossible to miss. There's a fire. Actually, that's a double fire. He's trying to hard nope out of there, but honestly, too little, too late. He's probably not going to last much longer. It's just a question of when somebody's going to hit him with some large caliber shells to put him out of his misery. Justin switching to the AP. Now he's got that big fat juicy broadside to shoot at, and there we go. 0 points, game over. Thanks for turning up. In 7 years of covering this game, I've only ever seen a team lose faster than that once. And that was when both teams basically just lemming trained around opposite sides of the map, and one team made it to the enemy's base before the other one did. And that was over in about 3.5 minutes. But that is the fastest I've ever seen a team get 0 pointed. In today's second offering, we have Bengal W in a Tier 8 clan battle, domination mode, on the Crash Zone Alpha map. Since it's clan battle, there are only 6 ships per team, and Bengal's clan are fielding 3 Asashios. So those of you who are familiar with World of Warships can have yourselves a good laugh while I explain to everybody else why this is a terrible idea. And the thing is, Bengal and his clan know that this is a terrible idea, but they've been playing clan battles all night. This was the last battle of the evening, and they thought, just for shits and giggles, we'll go triple Asashio. The reason this is a terrible idea is because while the Asashio has many fine features to recommend it, its torpedoes are not one of them. There's nothing specifically wrong with the Asashio's torpedoes. They're pretty fast, they do a lot of damage, but they are deep water torpedoes. Now, deep water torpedoes are a thing that were first introduced into the game, I believe, with the Pan-Asian destroyer line. Pan-Asian destroyers are equipped with torpedoes that travel so deep in the water that they will just pass harmlessly beneath destroyers. So you can only attack cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers with them. But the Asashio's deep water torpedoes take it that one step further. The Asashio's deep water torpedoes travel so deep in the water that they will also pass harmlessly underneath cruisers as well as destroyers, which means you can only use them to attack battleships and aircraft carriers. And if you're paying attention to chat, the enemy team are seeing the funny side as well. Target the battleship. The enemy battleship's like, hey, if you kill him, you win. Bengal's joining in the fun in chat himself there with, if the torps go underneath you, just pretend they hit and leave the match. Why is this so funny? Especially in clan battle? Well, there's only ever going to be one battleship. So there's only one ship on the enemy team that they can actually attack with their torpedoes. And there he is. That Massachusetts is probably sweating bullets around about now, but pretty much nobody else on the enemy team really needs to worry. Because, well, realistically, half of Bengal's team are next to no threat to all but one ship on their team. And while the Asashio does have many fine features to recommend it, its gunfire power is not one of them. This is no Akazuki, Kitakaze or Harugamo. It is very definitely not a gunship. It's got your standard Japanese 127mm dual-barreled gun turrets. And while the high explosive alpha damage is pretty good, the reload is slow and the turret traverse is even worse. So does the Asashio have anything to recommend it under these circumstances? Well, it is easily, by far, the stealthiest ship in this battle. The Asashio does have top quality stealth. Unfortunately, 4 of the 6 ships on the enemy team have radar. Every single cruiser on the enemy team is a radar cruiser. So the one real benefit that the Asashio brings to this party, its stealth, is more or less a complete waste of time. But they knew this going in. They know that in clan battles there are no aircraft carriers and there's only one battleship per team, so they know that the Asashio's torpedoes are going to be mostly useless. And anybody who takes a cruiser into a clan battle is almost always going to take a radar cruiser, so none of this is coming as a surprise to them. But they'd all been having fun playing clan battles all night. They'd had a mostly successful night, and this was the final battle of the day. They thought, just for shits and giggles, let's take as many Asashios as we possibly can. And the only reason they're going with 3 is because that's the maximum number of destroyers you can have on a team in this season of clan battles. Otherwise, they would have gone in with all 6. So they're not expecting to win this. They're just expecting to have a laugh. That doesn't mean they're not going to try to win it, of course. That's why this video is in the Try Hard series. But the odds are very definitely stacked against them. Let's just say that the half of the team that aren't in Asashios, the Zeton, the Cherbourg and the Prinz Eugen, they've got some carrying to do. Right now, Bengal's popping his smoke because he timed the Wichita's radar perfectly, but in a battle where 2/3 of the enemy team have radar when one radar ends, yep, the Talon's just picked up the slack. The Talon is dangerously low on health, however. Might be worth trying to finish him off, because when he dies, his radar dies with him. Plus, also, yeah, it's gone. Yeah, Soviet radar. Longer range, shorter duration. So he's actually getting some benefit out of this smoke screen after all. Ooh, is the Talon going to get away with it? Well, if somebody's going to sink him, it's going to have to be either the Prinz Eugen or the Zeiten. Sorry, the Zeiten. I'm always mispronouncing the name of that ship because he's now out of the line of fire. Bengal's blessed with some really good positioning here. He's got islands blocking line of sight. To any enemy ship that might have seen him firing, they've managed to take down the Congress, First Blood, to the Samps clan. And then, Second Blood to the Samps clan. What the hell is going on here? Those were actually secondary kills from the Zeiten, which is understandable, it's a German battlecruiser, but also the Cherbourg. Oh, the Prinz Eugen's in trouble. Looks like the Talon managed to get his torpedoes away. In case you're wondering why no awards are popping up, why there was no First Blood, why there were no Close Quarters Experts awards, you don't get awards like that in clan battles, because it's just too easy for clans to arrange to farm those kind of awards between them. Also in clan battles, the rewards are fixed, so there's no point in, you know, being a real dirty, sweaty tryhard. All you have to do is win. It doesn't matter how much you win by, or how well you do individually. It's very much a team effort. The winning clan gets 2,500 base experience and 300,000 credits, and the losing clan gets 250 experience and 100,000 credits. So there's no point in showboating in clan battles, or taking unnecessary risks. You know, like fielding a triple Asashio division. The only thing that matters is that your clan wins. It doesn't matter how much you win by, you just have to win. Okay, one of the Asashios has joined the Prinz Eugen in Davy Jones's locker. Frankly, I'm surprised it took this long. I'm pretty sure the third one is about to go down too. So the enemy team have regained the advantage, and they do control 2 of the cap circles because, well, you know... Oh, hang on a second. No, I spoke too soon. I mean, they do still control 2 of the cap circles, but the enemy team have just lost their Shapayev. So the Cherbourg's on a roll there. The enemy team now only have 1 radar left. Of course, to counterbalance that, Bengal's team now only have 1 Asashio left, and it's him. And it looks like he may actually be about to score a hit on the Massachusetts. Let us not forget, the only ship on the enemy team that these torpedoes can even hit. And it looks like he's going to take 2 of them. And as you can see, these torpedoes do a lot of damage. That's the benefit of the Asashio's deepwater torpedoes. I mean, they're obviously, you know, very limited because they can only hit carriers and battleships, and in this season of clan battles there are no carriers, and there's only ever going to be 1 battleship on a team. But they are very, very stealthy. By the time you see them, it's almost always too late to take evasive action, and they do a lot of damage. But they're not playing the Asashio because they have good torpedoes. They're in this for the shits and giggles, and I'm pretty sure that everybody involved on both teams is pretty surprised that Bengal's clan haven't already lost. Oh, is he going to get... You know, if he lands 2 torpedoes here, he may sink that Massachusetts. He's definitely landing 1. Is it going to... Oh. No, the one at the back just missed. The one at the front just missed. The Massachusetts squeaks by and lives to fight another day. Oh, it just occurred to me. Another thing that I probably should have mentioned when I was summing up why this triple Asashio clan is such a bad idea. As well as 4 radars on the enemy team, as well as the deepwater torpedoes only being able to hit the 1 battleship that's going to be on the enemy team. That 1 battleship is also the single biggest nightmare that you can take into a Tier 8 clan battle for the enemy destroyers to face, because the Massachusetts secondaries shred destroyers. Off the top of my head, I'm not entirely sure exactly what the maximum range can be of a secondary spec Massachusetts. Ooh. Cherbourg, about those torpedoes. No, he's good. But if you get spotted within about 11 kilometers over Massachusetts and you're in a destroyer, you're gonna have a very bad day. And he's just gotten spotted. And he is definitely in range of the Massachusetts secondaries. And while that Lightning does have a lot more health than him, all is not lost, because he's able to pop his smoke, and the Lightning is still spotted because he fired his guns within range of the Cherbourg. So the Lightning is losing a lot of that health and is forced to pop his own smoke. Also, because it's British, the Lightning does have hydro, but it's very short range hydro. A destroyer of any other nation with hydro would be detecting Bengal by now, but a British destroyer hydro doesn't have the range for it, and he knows that he's probably not about to get torpedoed because the Lightning just tried to torpedo the Cherbourg. But notice that the radio position indicator is not pointing into the smoke screen anymore. Well, the Lightning did manage to reload his torpedoes and he had left the smoke. Unfortunately for the Lightning, he chose violence when what he should have chosen was to run the hell away by keeping that smoke screen between himself, Bengal and the Cherbourg, and using that short duration British smoke, which is already dissipating, to just disengage and stay alive. That just leaves 2 ships surviving on the enemy team. The Zeton down at the south as well, he's just managed to find and sink the Wichita, which means that the last surviving ship on the enemy team, and this is probably the funniest part, is the one ship on the enemy team that by rights should have been the first one to die. On the bright side, at least everybody involved is actually seeing the funny side, with the enemy team saying there in chat, "Oh, how we scoffed at 3 Asacios," and Bengal replying, "Yep, we did too." Hey, if it's stupid but it works. Yeah, it's still stupid, you just got lucky. And on that bombshell, that's it for today. I hope you've been amused. I'm pretty sure you probably have. And as always, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.